Is this on? This
I'm a big Man United fan, so.
What?
Hi, my name is Kevin Taylor, host of With All Due Respect. As you know, With All Due Respect has been self-produced for the past 3 years. We have not accepted any money or resources outside in order to maintain the integrity of the platform. We are an anti-corruption platform. Our work doesn't excite or encourage compromised stakeholders.
Test?
That also means we cannot
Great.
take funds from just anyone. As our platform grows, the need for increased quality of work and production requires increased resources during this election year and beyond. In order to maintain our anti-corruption stance and continue to speak for everyday people without clout or connections in higher places, we cannot rely on the same entities we critique for continually keeping their hands in the cookie jar to be the ones who keep our work going. In that view, I welcome your support and participation in keeping this work ongoing. This platform is for the people, so we think it is only right for the people to sustain it. Now, this is a simple thing you have to do. Just visit patreon.com/withaldurespect, patreon.com/withaldurespect, or click the link at the bottom of the video. For Ghanaians or our viewers in Ghana, we are putting together a Ghanaian payment processor on our website. Please, and please again, do not send any donation to any platform apart from patreon.com/withaldurespect or loudsilenceradio.com donation page. You can donate as low as $10. Yes, $10, and we have exciting packages for every level of donation, including one-on-one call with me, Kevin Ekobedu Taylor, access to some of the documents before they go live. You can also have dinner with me in Washington, D.C. to discuss the issues. My fellow Ghanaians, remember, it's Patreon, Patreon.
This is the extended version of With All Due Respect. Today is a special day. Today we have a special guest with us. I'm not going to introduce him yet, but I just want to run down a few things we'll be talking about today. We'll be talking about basically the economy. We'll be touching on a few different things, banking sector. We'll be talking on other few things. You know, the president recently gave us the state of the nation. We'll be talking about that to go into detail what the minority thought they didn't really like and what they liked and a whole lot of things. But if you're watching us, you can tell a friend to watch us live on YouTube. The handle is With All Due Respect, Loud Silence Radio and TV Network on YouTube. Loud Silence Radio and TV Network. On Facebook, With All Due Respect page. With All Due Respect page, you can just go there, like the page. We are also on Facebook, Loud Silence Radio and TV Network on Facebook. This is the show you have to watch today. Our guest today is from Parliament. Our guest today has thrown a challenge to the current Vice President. He has thrown a big challenge that meet me on the field and let's see what we can do. It's a Kotoko and Haas thing. I heard that Kotoko and Haas game in London has been postponed. I just heard it this afternoon. Coronavirus and all that. So I thought it's not a good idea, honestly, to move all the way to London to have a game. So if you've joined us, my name is Kevin Ekobedu Taylor. Our guest today is the MP for Bolgatanga Central, and he's the whiz kid of the NDC. He's giving people tough time in Ghana when it comes to economics, when it comes to the economy and how to explain it, break it down for people to understand. My guest today is Honorable Isaac Adongo. Hello, sir. How are you coming?
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Good to see you.
Great to see you. So you are in the States. Tell us about your experience in the States. I know you've been here several times, different weathers and all that, but how are you feeling today?
Well, it's been very good. Since arriving yesterday, the NDC caucus in the United States have been very helpful. So I didn't have to go through any hassles at all. Even though I've been a bit dormant, but that is good for me because then I can rest and prepare for this program. But after this, we're expecting to have a forum for the concerned Ghanaians in the East area. So we're expecting people from Virginia, Maryland, DC, and possibly Philadelphia to be here on Saturday.
Yeah.
And so once that is done, then I can begin my private engagements.
The private engagement is very important to us.
Yeah, exactly.
So as you can see, this is a mini town hall, and you can see some gentlemen around. I think our producer will be panning the cameras for you to see some gentlemen around. They have lots and lots of questions for the Honorable Minister, and as you can see, they are smiling. Some are smiling, some are like, man, let us ask our questions now. But we are not going to allow that. We are going to... in fact, push the Honorable a little bit. When I say push the Honorable a little bit, I'm just going to start with his challenge to the Vice President. You've sent a challenge to the Vice President that you want an open debate with the Vice President. We've not actually started a questioning yet. We just want to know what actually motivated you to throw that challenge out.
Yeah, but before then, let me just say good evening to the people in Ghana, particularly my constituents in Bogatanga Central, and the entire Ghanaian community back home, and to the Ghanaians who are here in the States and in the diaspora who are watching us today, because this is all about Ghanaians. And I'm privileged to be on this show. You've done quite a lot of work already, and it's a privilege to support the work you've done by being here. But the challenge to the Vice President is a very simple. I have read a couple of things ever since I threw that challenge, and it's all born out of misconception. The first one is that it is a Vice President who, in the lead up to the elections in 2016, propounded some of the most weirdest economic theories that we have ever found. And I have been looking back at some of the things that he did, and I realized that because of the euphoria around the elections, he was really not properly scrutinized. For instance, one of the infamous things he did was basically to go to Malata market and calculate inflation. I mean, there's no theoretical, technical, professional basis for that kind of work, given the methodology that is used in calculating inflation. He's the one who is credited with using rate of change to calculate the depreciation of the cedi, and arrive at a depreciation of a cedi of about 243%. But the technical basis for exchange rate depreciation is that a currency cannot lose its value up to 100%.
Okay.
When a currency loses its value up to 100%, technically it ceases to be a legal tender. And so there is no formula that should give you a depreciation rate of a currency up to 100% and beyond. And to have an economist of his caliber and a PhD holder, you know, to arrive at 243% depreciation of a currency, and the next moment was roaming in Malata market buying tomatoes and onions with the same currency that has become useless and has ceased to exist, you know, baffles me. And these are some of the things that I have looked back. He's done some of, in the last days in Kumasi, he used nominal value comparisons to compare exchange rate depreciation. And that basically is to assume that when we say depreciation, we are talking about non-existence in volatility.
Okay.
But that's not what it is. And then he made propounded several theories about Ghana debt situation and all of that. And my view is that I have done an extensive amount of work on the things that he did and the things that he said about the Ghanaian economy. And I had an opportunity to address Ghanaians back home. And I said, in the face of all these facts, I want him to come and explain in a debate how he arrived at that. Now, I have heard somebody say that his spokesperson, Gideon Buako, Gideon Buako ran away from me when he was supposed to meet me at Joy FM on PM Express. after he made a profound statement, when I said that Dr. Bawumia had said that they were giving 800 million Ghana cedis to 4 other banks, he denied and said, no, Dr. Bawumia never said that anywhere. Okay. In the end, when we were going to meet at PM Express, he realized that he lied and he ran away. He didn't come. But the point is that he is not the one who has been making the argument. He's not the one who went to Kumasi to lie about the Ghanaian economy. He's not the one who held a town hall meeting in April 2019 and said things that were unsubstantiated. They are not the ones who in 2014, 2015 did lectures to talk about the restoration of the city and to discuss whether the Ghanaian economy was built on straw or a solid foundation. The man who did that, I want to meet him.
So talking about inflation,
Yeah.
some people do things that you're supposed to cut the NPP slack because going back to inflation, the figures. Every day when we're talking about the economy and all that, we're talking about figures here. The NPP inherited an inflation rate of 15.4%. And then now it has dipped to 7.4. So will you at least give the NPP credit for that? Because the figures are there and they can be debated. 15 all the way to 7. So I think the vice president has some room to say that he has handled the economy well.
Okay, so we need to put the inflation trajectory in perspective. Okay. And there are two key things that we need to understand. Way back in 2012, Ghana set a medium-term target for our inflation policy. Yeah. And the target was that by 2018, Ghana's inflation should be 8% plus or minus 2. What that simply means is that by 2018, we should achieve inflation figure between 6% and 10%. Okay. NPP wasn't in government. Good. So we started moving inflation all the way from about 21%, came down to 15%. Why you want the forward march to stop? Because NPP is in power. So that downward trajectory was set in motion, and it was a medium-term target set way back in 2012. And we knew that by 2018, that has to be achieved. And if it is achieved under the NPP, what is new? Are you suggesting that downward trajectory that we're working for would have stopped? Don't forget that in 2015, when the IMF came on board, one of the things that we brought IMF to do was improve our monetary policy framework. What it means is that we deliberately wanted to improve our inflation targeting at the Bank of Ghana and to anchor inflation in Ghana on what we call inflation expectations. So these are not things that the NPP did. But even more importantly is the fact that after you achieve your medium-term target in 2018, it means that you have to reset the parameters. So you notice that in 2018, Ghana rebase its inflation.
So that was my next question. Because
once you rebase, what it technically means is that you are saying that the original numbers that we're using, the base year of, say, 2012, is so far away that it has lost value over a longer period and must be brought closer to where we are now. Okay. Once you do that, the relativities will change. The second one is that you have also decided that Ghana has expanded and most of the communities, particularly in the regions, and have expanded. So there are more markets that have emerged in the hinterlands that are not being considered in the calculation of inflation. So you must expand the markets that you are surveying. And the more you move into rural markets, you move into lower price zones, which would impact the inflation that you get. The third one is also that the basket of goods and services that Ghanaians consume, Ghanaian lifestyle have changed. Yeah. So if you continue to use the same basket, you are leaving out other consumption items of Ghanaians that have become more important now than they were some 6 years ago. And when you begin, so for instance, we're not too keen about data. We're not too keen about buying mobile phones. So you need to bring into the lifestyle of Ghanaians what truly reflects the cost of living of Ghanaians. Once you bring all that together, you would have improved your targeting of inflation. And therefore, the likelihood of you getting a lower inflation figure is very high. Okay. So from 2019, 2018, we did the rebasing, and we are now using a different set of measure and methodology which didn't exist in 2016.
Is there anything wrong with the new one they're using?
In fact, it is a more improved methodology. So when you have a situation like that, what you normally would do is to go back to historical data and give the same credit that has improved the current rate to those ones in order that you can compare.
Okay.
And the Ghana Statistical Service, when it was releasing the data and the methodology, indicated that they have not gone back to do a rebasing of the historical inflation. And therefore, the inflation that we got from 2018 cannot even be compared to 2017. This is not my words. These are the words of the people who produce inflation. And yet, you have the head of the economic management team not even just comparing to 2017, but comparing to 1992. And this is why I want the challenge with him, because you cannot pollute students of finance and monetary policy. It's never done.
Yeah, but sometimes you see when we're talking about the economy, we're talking about figures, we're talking about statistics, data. The NPP, especially Dr. Bawumia, who is heading the economic management team for now, I don't know about the FX committee. They can talk about debt accumulation under the NDC, and they can also boast about how they've been able to improve that. Because if you look at the figures, and every time I try to stick with the figures because that is what we have to work with, not somebody coming in to throw figures around. And so we try to stick with the figures. Now, in 2008 to 2012, it was 267%. From 2012 to 2016, it was 243. 2016 to 2019 is 67%.
Okay,
so why is...
I want to simplify all this. You see, I want to simplify all this for you. If you take the first 3 years of John Dramani Mahama, from 2013, 2014, 2015, okay, John Dramani Mahama added about 95.5 billion Ghana cedis to our public debt. If you take the entire NDC period from 2009 all the way to 2016, 8 years, we moved the public debt from 9.7 billion to 120 billion, not 122, because the Auditor General has certified the figure 120 billion. That gives you about 110.3 billion over 8 years. Divide that by 8 years. You get an average of 1.15 billion Ghana cedis a month being added to our public debt, and an average of about 13 billion Ghana cedis a year being added to our public debt. The MPP, in just about 2 years and 11 months, because we don't have December numbers, 2 years and 11 months, moved the public debt from 120 to 214 billion. Okay, that gives you an average of about 114 in just 2 years, 11 months. The first one is only 110 billion over 8 years. These people in 2 years and 11 months have added more than was added in 8 years. It must take magic for you to see something else other than what I'm seeing. And if you take the average, they are adding an average of about 36 billion to our public debt every year, compared to we adding just about 13 billion. They are adding on the average 3 billion Ghana cedis to our public debt every month, compared to 1 billion 0.15. How on earth can these numbers suggest that somebody who is adding 3 billion is actually running slower than somebody who is adding 1.15? That somebody who is adding 36 billion, you see, the rate of accumulation is the rate at which we are running with the public debt. So somebody is running at 36 billion a year, and we are saying he is running at a lower rate than somebody who is adding just about 13 billion. Clearly, you can see Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia sits in his room, takes his textbooks, and generates his own numbers. And that is why the challenge is for him to come and show me how somebody who is adding 36 billion can be accumulating debt lower at a rate than somebody who is adding 13 billion. It simply doesn't add up.
But they can also argue that the pace of depreciation has slowed.
You see, and that is where I have a problem. Again, that is another Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia dynamics. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, you remember when I told you that he used the rate of change and got 243%? And it was in response to a very simple tweet by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. John Dramani Mahama just tweeted in 2019 and said, when the cedi was depreciation, you said, if the fundamentals of your economy
are weak,
the exchange rate will expose you.
Yeah.
Now the cedi is going for 1 cedi, the dollar is going for 1 cedi, 4 cedis, 20 pesos. Does this reflect the fundamentals of the economy? A very basic question. Your man went and wrote an article, used rate of change, and calculated exchange rate depreciation in our time at 243%. And I threw a challenge to him and said, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, where did you learn this type of depreciation of a currency? You can't have exchange rate depreciation up to 100%, not to talk about 243%. And so rate of change, you see, in investment banking 101, level 100, you are taught that you can use rate of exchange to calculate anything you want, but don't try it on exchange rate depreciation. Bawumia was now teaching our level 101 students something that across the globe, all central banks across the world have a formula that cannot give you that. And Dr. Bawumia was a deputy governor at the central bank. And he wants to suggest that he doesn't know the exchange rate formula that is used at the Bank of Ghana, and he decided to use rate of change. When I took him on that, you saw that this time when he went to Kumasi, he ran away from rate of change.
He didn't really talk.
He didn't talk about that. He didn't get 243 depreciation anymore. Now he went into a more slipperier terrain by now doing nominal value comparison. He said the exchange rate was 1 cedi, 18 pesos to the dollar in 2008, and moved all the way to 1 cedi. Well, it was now 4.2. So we have added 3 cedi. You see, when we talk about stability in the market, it is not the absence of depreciation. It's not the absence, or it is not a case that the exchange rate remains constant. It is your ability to manage the rate at which it is escalating.
Okay.
And so when you use nominal values, what you do is to compensate for periods of acceleration, for periods of deceleration. And that is not exchange rate. And then he also used average rates. There's nothing like average rate in depreciation. When you are going to buy the dollar today, will they quote 8.7 for you as a depreciation? They will quote what? 13% depreciation of the period. So when you use average, you know what you do? What you have done is like a student who is very poor in a subject and gets a C. You want to fail the student, he said, no, don't fail me. Add all my marks and take the average. So it simply means what? Baby, I'm a bono. Na me the baby, I'm a yard there. But when you are calculating depreciation, we don't do that. So in 2017, when you just came back to power and you hadn't even done anything, you got 4.8 and you are celebrating. Then when your feet was firmly on the ground in 2018, you recorded 8.8. As if that is not enough. 2 years down the line, in 2019, you are recording 12.9. Any economic manager will look at the trajectory and develop a problem. That, look, how come I moved from 4.8? I almost doubled to 8.8. And now I'm at 12. I'm now actually at double digit at 12.9. Okay, which is worse than even 2016 when we were coming out of the problem. You know, we moved from about 15% to 9% to 4.8%. So on a trajectory, when you begin now to move and you are now even above 2016, something fundamentally wrong is happening. To the extent that you have actually formed a 40-man squad to help you find a solution. Then you go on another platform and tell people who buy the dollar that they are better off today than they were in 2016. If you are a trader, let's say me $50,000. Ekotono bana me ton wia. Me say me kwa kotono money biem no. Me kwase sa na aba be 30,000. Na me de ko. Me sa aba no me ton wie na me sa koto biem a na me dwetre na ka 20,000.
Every time bia na go for.
Nti enso ba o say oh wase trem ye. Nso dwetre na she.
But honorable, when the ordinary Ghanaian is listening to the politician, most people, they get confused, especially when it comes to the economy, figures, and all that. The basic question is, what is the true valuation of the Ghanaian economy? Like, you see, even the learned, those who have been, who are in school, the young ones, they get confused.
Okay.
And I'm interviewing you from the opposition side. I can interview somebody from the current government side, and the conversation is going to be totally different. But at the end of the day, we are all heading to one place where we want better economy. The poor can get better, income and all that. What is the true valuation of the Ghanaian economy?
Okay, so let me speak in very simple language for everybody to understand. Inti you find say you can be say GDP. Near a chain and say you fa afini na Ghana for year quiet by your team for free year bri emoji ni na no. Sika saying the bedi Ghana ni bia in semua or the bonibra.
Okay.
Inti se ka say sika ni na ebomu a ne aka say sa afini mo no Ghana ye nyina ya ho de ne adwuma ye nyina no ni pempe so e ba ni say na yenya almost 340 billion Ghana cedis and your friend gross domestic product.
Okay.
And to say ya o hwe Ghana for asetremu a ehia ankasa na Ghana sa sika na yenya na ya na ebo no GDP na ye hwahwe ho no Ghana ni adehye dodo sen ana o musika wom a o mutimi nya sika o musa ko o ma no e wa afenim.
Okay.
So what am I say?
Yeah.
Enti uhwe mu a edwadifo a o mukodi omokwa omo dwadie mu tesen nti obi omo okodwo mu a sika kra obekwa akobọ bosia ede akwa akodi dwa no ode akodwa so akoton no nya mfaso abehwe fie no onye sika no po no ode akokoto no ma ba beton so onye sika no kra no ode ton no ma no okotena dwomu a obekwa akotena ho a obi kra mebusa no watobi tieni yo
I'm listening, sir.
nti saa nipa no ye ka saa sika na Ghana 40 minye adwuma ma omo seka bi na ono ne nsanka bi so ye Ghana ni.
Yeah.
Fine. Ena no na omo a na omo ye adwuma o sika kra bi a
Banks.
ye tu omo ka bosumi bia be 1 year ka ni nyina boma ekoka Ghana sika mu no. Sa nkofo na omo tifie. Emembu no be ye almost 50,000 etifie omo nya adwuma o. Nti omo no omo sore omo nsanka oma no. Enso NDC abreso no na omo sa ye den ekoma fise no omo adwuma ye. Ena ye ka say edwadifo a no omokoto no ma free Unilever ekodwa sokoton a no nti omo bi officer omotimi fa nkofo drivers any salesmen ne ade omo no omo ye adwuma bosumi to omo tua moka omo so nya mfaso a omo de kohwe fie no enemre sa Unilever key distributors no omo nya bosia po no makoto no ma no e free Unilever enti ne driver no otifie ne salesman etifie ono ankasa kura tifia ne sa ehye ne defu mfemu a onye aduane kura ni
Honorable Debrifa.
your friends
Debrifa.
Sa ne ka good me your friend ni akura nti facha be na amase si Unilever o man fidi o mo de adwuma o mo produce pe obi ama meto no mani gufi egu o mo warehouse me ka se Unilever has registered one of their worst performance in decades. Ama sa manufacturing ya yesi edin fidie dandan no mama nkofo nya adwuma ye manufacturer fa mabunu mo koye adwuma enka na emutimi tre omutimi ko bobosen emutre no enne sa manufacturing na ho ode ne so atia free 7.9% jo mahama breso no aba be 4%. Na chese mabunu no dodo na anka ombenya adwuma ye ewo sa sector no omutifie emunso ntrema ya fa bia ka ho tieni yo enka na nanka emabunu a omoye masons carpenters aban etimi ma contractor adwuma na omutimi ko gisika wo bank ediko ye adwuma no mo fa mason efa carpenter no okọ bank onye sika nti sa mason ne carpenter no otifie ne jo mama abreso ne yesi suku adan e-block yesi hospitals ne ade no na sa nkofo nyina ye adwuma omo nso enya ho wo mutimi yesika ema ne boa Ghana enne omutifie nti sa sika na ye kan GDP bebre na de bia ye de hwahwaye no eye abrofu ya omoba betu fango wo Jubilee field ne na sefo omo betu fango na sefango no mutu no krom ha nti omo ko ton a sika omo nya no ye de ka Ghana sika ho enso sa sika no esanse ya amono ne fo no omo de omo dwetire be shemu a enye ye ne dwetire ne ntu sa sika ne kwa ensamba enso ye de aka sika ho ma ye hwahwaye so se ye GDP na ye Ghana sika na kosoro enso dodo na no ya amono ne fo dia
Abina so say banking crisis here.
Meba ho. Ni mpesa me kan say me pese sa assembly Ghana 40 ase at the quantia ehia dokoro ya ye ho kire o Ghana mpeso mo te ase ansa na ofiri ho a telecom companies Vodafone Airtel Tigo MTN enye Ghana for dia o nti de bia ye de abafu kwan so a ye di nkomo wo phone so ni ye tua credit na ye nam amanse nyina tentan so a ye internet ni ade a ye tua wonka no omoji sika na eka Ghana sika ye nya ho so sa sika ni nya dia omunya mfaso na sika ne ko South Africa ebi ko London na ebi ko India nti eno no enye ne sika ne sa to bisu biema e ma Ghana sika na kosoro na ye hoahoa ye ho no eye omutu agudie a ye mining companies na omutu agudie no ye chefa yesen wo eno so amononefo no mde omu edwetiaba nti ombe ye adwuma no mutu agudie no mkoton na amonone a na ye de hoahoa ye so sika na kwa emma efise enye ye ndia enti se o pe Ghana fo ankasa yetie krom ya brabo mu a no ne friend non oil GDP de bia kan non oil ne ma kirekire mu a edwadifo ye omo te makwala ye nuanu mu a omo aboso kan mre bi no mutimi kofa 2040 footer container omo timi so abe 30 boso me kura ma na omo ton wi ne omo to 20 footer container ba ko a omo be di ho akono ya vasa obi amebusa 1 year 1 hwɛ na odwetri ase enso na John Mahama abreso no utimi koto 20 containers eton no be boso me ba ko boso me mienu omo te so ame san kofo no ene makola fo omo ton sa na nkofo timye ska ye nom sa from Monday to Sunday na edi bitwa waiters ka enne omo betra ho obi am beton sa omo no ne friend non oil growth ni aka na me bobo so say ye fango ni ade ne friend oil growth eno ne friend jobless growth every say nipa dodo say na benya adwuma ye ewo fango ye tu no onim.
Honorable, we're getting a lot of messages and we are actually streaming across the world. We have listeners so many places, and some people too are pleading. Honorable, go back to a little bit of the English. I was also confused. Yeah, so I think when you mixed it to be good. I think we were cut off.
Yeah, so I just wanted to get the ordinary Ghanaian to understand what we've been saying, all the technical jargons in their own language.
Yeah.
What it simply means is that the Ghanaian economy is growing not on account of the contribution of many Ghanaians to that growth.
Okay.
And that is why the growth is not creating jobs. It is a growth that is centered on the oil sector. And we know that the oil sector is a very limited area in terms of job creation and in terms of income for the majority of Ghanaians.
Yeah.
So the non-oil sector, in which case I'm talking about construction, which is doing -8%. And that is where our masons, our carpenters were finding livelihood. It means that it is contracting. They are not even getting jobs, and when they get jobs, they can't even deliver.
Yeah.
So people are sitting at home. Masons and carpenters are sitting at home. The other one is the financial sector that is registering negative growth. And in fact, Gavin's own projection says that it will take 5 years for us to begin to see even 1.1% growth in the financial sector. And that is scary.
Yeah.
The manufacturing sector, even under Dumso, was doing 7.9%. Okay, in 2017, when Dumso had gone, by 2017, it picked up to 9.5%. That was good news.
Yeah.
So you expected to see an improvement. Now, 2019, we are now doing 4%. And like I said, Unilever now only produces to stock because the products are not moving. The route to the market, there's no funding within the route to the market to bring the product to the market. So that is why the non-oil growth that John Mahama achieved in 2016 of 5.1%, for the past 3 years, they have not been able to achieve it. They are doing 4.6, 4.8%.
But this government is getting more oil.
Exactly. So the growth is coming from oil. In 2017, the oil sector alone registered 80% growth. 80% growth. When it registered -17% under John Mahama. Because, you know, we had a problem with the Tara barrel at the Jubilee field, where for the first half of the year, we're not producing oil. So oil sector growth declined, where the oil market prices had tumbled so much that we were basically getting nothing. Mining companies were struggling because the oil commodity prices had hit them. Mining alone in 2017 registered 30% growth. So these are not growth drivers where the government has invested a penny. This is not driven by one village, one dam, which produces no water. This is not driven by one district, one factory, where they have painted factories that are older than me and claim it is one district, one factory. This is purely on account of foreign investment in areas where our value proposition is very low. Mining, our collective interest is about 5%. It doesn't help us. Yeah. If you come to oil, you will notice from now that we're even deteriorating. We're now doing about 13%. And all the agreements that we did to push it back up to about 45% have been basically given out for free. And we are now doing about 13 to 15%. So this is where we're having, and when you are not getting your real sector other than oil to grow, you create jobless growth, because those are the areas where people find jobs in Ghana. And those areas aren't doing well. And so what it means is that we are moving towards what we feared most when we found oil, what we call the Dutch disease, where a country becomes so dependent on oil to the neglect of the other growth drivers that support the livelihood of the majority of the people.
You're still watching Loud Silence Radio and TV. My name is Kevin Akobedu-Taylor. My guest in the house today is Honorable Isaac Adongo. He is the MP for Bolgatanga Central. We're talking about the economy of Ghana, the real economy of Ghana. We're going to take a 2-minute break. When we come back, as I already told you, we have some gentlemen here. They'll be reading some questions out to the Honorable Minister to answer.
The Honorable Member.
Honorable Member.
Inshallah, a minister in 2021.
Honorable Member of Parliament to answer. It's going to range from banking crisis. We are going to talk about the bank
very
crisis.
Important. Yeah, very important.
But after this short break, we're going to come back and gentlemen here are going to pose their questions to the MP. Let me make it that way. I don't want to.
No, I'm on the way to a minister. That's why.
No problem. So stick and stay. We're back after 2 minutes, and then we will talk about the banking crisis and other matters. This is Loud Silence Radio and TV.
It's heating up.
We're doing numbers. It's crazy.
Hi, my name is Kevin Taylor, host of With All Due Respect. As you know, With All Due Respect has been self-produced for the past 3 years. We have not accepted any money or resources outside in order to maintain the integrity of the platform. We are an anti-corruption platform. Our work doesn't excite or encourage compromised stakeholders. That also means we cannot take funds from just anyone. As our platform grows, the need for increased quality of work and production requires increased resources during this election year and beyond. In order to maintain our anti-corruption stance and continue to speak for everyday people without clout or connections in higher places, we cannot rely on the same entities we critique for continually keeping their hands in the cookie jar to be the ones who keep our work going. In that view, I welcome your support and participation in keeping this work ongoing. This platform is for the people, so we think it is only right for the people to sustain it. Now, this is a simple thing you have to do. Just visit patreon.com/withallduerespect. Patreon.com/withallduerespect, or click the link at the bottom of the video. For Ghanaians or our viewers in Ghana, we are putting together a Ghanaian payment processor on our website. Please, and please again, do not send any donation to any platform apart from patreon.com/withallduerespect or loudsilenceradio.com donation page. You can donate as low as $10. Yes, $10, and we have exciting packages for every level of donation, including one-on-one call with me, Kevin Akobedu-Taylor, access to some of the documents before they go live. You can also have dinner with me in Washington, D.C. to discuss the issues. My fellow Ghanaians, remember, it's Patreon, patreon.com/withallduerespect.
of With All Due Respect. You're watching us live on YouTube, watching us live on Facebook. On Facebook, it's With All Due Respect page. Go there, like, and follow the page. Whenever we are online, you're going to get notifications. On YouTube, it's Loud Silence Radio and TV Network. My guest on the show today is the Wizkid of the NDC, Honorable Adongo, Isaac Adongo, MP for Bolgatanga Central. This segment, we're going to be asking him questions. People sent in their questions for the Honorable to answer. So my Honorable gentleman here will start asking him the questions, and they will be actually telling us what's in there. So we're going to start from Nana, who is going to put to him the questions he has on his paper.
Okay, Honorable Adongo, we've got a question from them. These were questions were posed from the NDC youth, and they're very concerned. They've got very critical questions for you. So the first question from Mohammed Rabiu, he says, please ask Honorable Man what we the youth stand to gain when JM is voted back into office. The youth have lost some confidence in NDC, though they love the party, but there seems not seeing the part to be helping them at all. As a leading member in the party, what does he, or that is you, Honorable Adongo, have in terms of policy for the youth, which is so convincing for them to what? Throw their weight behind you. Now, the second question I will follow up with is was from Single Nanause. And the question is, Honorable, do you believe the NDC treated its foot soldiers fairly with respect to how NDC appointees granted get funds to scholarships meant for the poor youth to the MPP stalwarts? And these are the questions they've got from you from the NDC youth. So.
Okay, I think these are very critical questions for the party as a whole, and I know for a fact that His Excellency, the former President John Dramani Mahama, has put together a number of working groups. I personally belong to the Economic Policy Working Group, but there are other policy working groups in education, in social protection, in infrastructure, particularly as a driver of growth, on the private sector as the engine of growth, on monetary policy, and there are those on healthcare and almost every sector of the economy. And largely what His Excellency has directed all of us to do is to mainstream job creation in almost every single policy that we bring forth. And his focus is that there have been several job losses because of the challenges with the various sectors of the economy, as already explained. A lot of jobs have been lost in the construction area. A lot of jobs have been lost in manufacturing. A lot of jobs have been lost in financial sector. A lot of jobs have been lost even in trade. And he has the feeling that if we do not solve the problem of unemployment, Ghana sits on a time bomb, because that can be harnessed to destabilize the country. And so one critical area that I can assure the youth of our country is that His Excellency wants every city that is spent to be focused on how do we measure the potential of that city to create jobs for the people. So job creation will be a key item on the plate. The nuances of how we are going to generate the jobs would emerge from the policies that are being developed from the various policy working groups. And he insists that he wants to hit the ground running. So he wants to be ready with his policies that will inform the manifesto that is coming. We are aware that he's currently doing the Speak Out, where he's moving around, talking to various interest groups, and to listen to them, and for some of these to be put before him, so that by the time he develops the manifesto and the policy working groups have developed the policies that should drive the manifesto, he would be able to make an impact within the shortest possible time. It won't be like these people who have been sleeping for 4 years, for 3 years, and now in the last year they say they will do everything they promised to do. Suddenly they say it's a year of roads. Which year is not a year of roads? How can a government not do roads in 2017, 2018, 2019, and then dedicate 10 months of your tenure to roads? I mean, that is deception. And His Excellency doesn't want to fall into that trap, because he's been there before and he knows what it is that he needs to do in order to fast track procurement and in order to ensure that he's able to make the impact within the 4-year mandate that will be given to him. And so that is for our youth. I know also a lot of this is coming from the way the MPP, upon assuming office, decided to throw away everything that we have had in terms of ensuring quality within our public and civil service, and have basically turned the public and civil service into an avenue for absorbing foot soldiers. It is something that is creating a paradigm shift. away from using the private sector as the engine for job creation and for growth. And because they are unable to do that and empower the private sector, they are forced to absorb their foot soldiers. And you notice that from 2017, when they started threatening, the Delta Force and all of that started threatening, we began to have this SWAT group that is being swelled by militant groups within the MPP and all of that. But we want to assure the NDC youth that despite the challenge in absorbing a lot of people in the public sector, we want to be able to create an opportunity and an enabling environment that will create jobs within the private sector and augment that where possible with the public sector. And like I said, our policy working groups are working day and night to actualize that vision of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. So 2021 will be a different year. We have a president that has lost vision. I listed for you amount of debts that were borrowed. I am surprised that we have reduced the conversation around debt to who has borrowed more. It should be a conversation on who has utilized those monies better. Okay, and so when you have a government that borrowed just 110 billion, and they can point to massive investment in the healthcare sector, if you take regional hospitals, you can count them. Everybody knows them. You can count the Rich Hospital, the Maritime Hospital, the Bank of Ghana Hospital, the Medical Center at Legon, which is the University of Ghana. You can talk about the hospital that the re-expansion work that he started doing in Bogatanga, the new hospital that we did in Wa. Okay, you can talk about the Takwa hospital and all of that. That is what the conversation should be about. You can talk about the transport sector where we expanded the Tema port. Now the congestion that has been removed in Tema, it's not about paperwork. It's about enhanced capacity. In fact, bigger vessels that used not to be able to dock on our waters today are docking on the Terminal 2, which didn't exist. He's done the same thing. I felt very proud coming through the Terminal 3. Okay, and I feel very proud as a Ghanaian, and I feel very proud as an NDC that we delivered this to the people of Ghana. Water systems were all over the place, educational infrastructure. In fact, in the healthcare sector, in Greater Accra alone, there were 8 polyclinics. Okay, in Central and Western region, we developed 14 polyclinics. That is what borrowing should be about. It's not about decorative numbers. It's about delivering real value to the people. Okay, and these are what drives employment. And this is what we know how to do best. E-schools, 123, about 50 were done. Others were at various stages. And our children would have had better education today. And any time you ask them, after having borrowed, in fact, they just recently borrowed another $3.5 billion. By the end of February, our public debt should be going to $235 billion in just about 3 years and 1 month or 2 months. And that is scary. What do you have to show for it? They tell you free SHS. How much have we spent on free SHS? In fact, over the period of 3 years, we've not spent more than 6 billion Ghana cedis on free SHS. In fact, that is the equivalent of 2 months borrowing under Akufo-Addo. That's the equivalent of 2 months borrowing under Akufo-Addo. If you take revenue generation, they have done 48% more than John Mahama did in 3 years. And you add that to the debt burden. And we are not discussing how we have delivered value to the people. We are discussing who has borrowed more. We are discussing debt accumulation ratio. Who chops debt accumulation ratio? We chop schools. Are you getting the point? And so the youth in Ghana would see a visionary leader who is interested in removing the lack of competitiveness in the Ghanaian business. Today, we have been performing worse in the last 3 years in the Corruption Perception Index. We've been performing worse on cost of doing business. Okay? How can you say that you are using digitization and you are improving the micro foundations of corruption, and yet your Corruption Perception Index is worse? What it means is that you have basically just removed the corruption from one center and enhance it at another center. So when we deliver what we have done and we ask you and you cannot show it, because CDD is saying, Center for Democratic Governance is saying that we actually lose 9.6 billion to this Akufo-Addo family and friends a year. Multiply that by 3, about 30 billion is gone. That can cater for free SHS for 5 years without sweat. And you are taxing these poor Ghanaians who are losing jobs and are earning nothing 48% more, and you are delivering nothing. All you are delivering is put it into corruption. If it's not corruption, it is about the president refusing to use our presidential jet and touring across, and every round trip he comes back, we are picking a bill of $12 million. Prima so
Prima, you know, Prima itself is from the word playman.
Exactly.
Let's take the second.
So all we want to say is that the NDC youth should know that every government makes mistakes, and His Excellency has sat back. He's looked at some of the mistakes. He's looked at how he can take care of his foot soldiers and his army better. And that is why he is listening to them on the speak out, so that they will be able to speak directly to him on this. Then he will know how he needs to configure his government in order to deliver this promise to the people. On Get Fund, you know, we are the proponents of Get Fund. We brought in the value-added tax. In 1996, they went on Kumipreko, okay, to stop us from developing Get Fund. To developing value-added tax. When they came, that was what gave birth to, Get Fund, gave birth to National Health Insurance Scheme, just like they fought us on ESLA, and today ESLA is the backbone of a bond that they have issued for several years. So we have looked at the law, and I'm sure that the policy working group on education will look at how we can fine-tune the challenges associated with Get Fund. This points to a loophole within the Get Fund law. And I think that people have abused it, because originally, even though it was meant to improve infrastructure, and NDC used that to a great effect, because John Mahama alone removed over, even right from Professor Mills. Professor Mills did over 2,000 schools under trees. It was through Get Fund that we were able to do the quick fix education infrastructure under Professor Mills. You remember when we took power in 2009, His Excellency John Ajekum Kufuor had changed the educational calendar, and we had third year and fourth year conflicting without infrastructure. Similar to what we have that has given birth to Red Go Green. But we didn't introduce Red Go Green. We put together what we call the emergency quick fix infrastructure project. And within a period of 1 year, we had provided every single Ghanaian child in secondary school, shelter, and infrastructure. These people had 3 years. In fact, we are now moving into an accelerated phase of double track. Okay, so all we are trying to say is that the Get Fund law and the Get Fund as a project was put together for a good reason. Obviously, there have been some challenges that have emerged in recent times. You recall that sometime in John Mahama's reign, we had the challenge of meeting the UN standards for doctor to patient ratio, and we sent a lot of young Ghanaians to Cuba and other places to be trained. We relied on Get Fund to do that, and that was part of capacity building. And capacity building has been stretched too far by politicians, and so we hope to bring some changes that would improve the sanity, and to look at the capping law, which has taken close to in the last 3 years alone, Get Fund has lost close to 4 billion to central government funding, and we don't know where the monies go. We want to be able to look at all of that.
Thank you, Honorable. So, Alfred, you can take it from there.
Right. Honorable.
Yeah.
Welcome to the United States.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I know you are.
Very soon, I'll also start calling water.
To drink your water? Okay, so Honorable, I have a couple of questions here from. The first one is from Dumenya Edward. He wants to know if Ghana will go into HIPC again. And if not, what should be our biggest fear for the next 5 years? I think I have a few more, so...
Yeah, but if there are many, I may forget. So.
Yeah, okay,
yeah, so let me attempt this too. Yes, I think HIPC is becoming very eminent. You know that the World Bank has made it very clear that Ghana is at risk of debt distress. Recently, the World Bank was at pains to warn Ghana about excessive borrowing, not just borrowing, they qualified it. They said excessive borrowing. The IMF, apart from just being worried about borrowing, is even worried about collateralization of future flows to borrow extensive amount of money today. What they are simply saying is that we are creating more rigidities in our budget. We are beginning to, as it were, create more senior debt. And how does that happen? So Get Fund goes to take $1.5 billion on account of 30% of their revenue into the future for 10 years. Okay, so, and that is not sitting on the public debt we are talking about. This is sitting in some office called Get Fund. But it will emerge, and Ghanaians will have to pay. But we have collateralized the 30% of the revenue from Get Fund, and we have basically mortgaged 10 years of those revenues. What did we use the money for? And 1.5 billion is not chicken feed. We are talking in close to almost 7-point-something billion Ghana cedis. And yet our children still don't have the educational infrastructure that was envisaged. That is a major concern. We are going into Sino-Hydro and pretending that it is bauxite when we have even constructed a road to a bauxite site. So $2 billion, the equivalent of about almost 12 billion Ghana cedis, would emerge from somewhere one day for Ghanaians to pay. It's not sitting on our public debts. We are going to raise $750 million and mortgage the royalties that we get from the mining sector that we use to develop our communities and our stool lands are going to be mortgaged for another 10 years. The ESLA bond, which was meant to take 5 years to just pay off the debt, now we are using the ESLA revenue essentially to service the debt, and yet the debt itself, the principal itself, is hanging for the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years. At the moment, we have about 6 billion sitting on it. Only a few days ago, they introduced an illegal instrument that they call the Global Medium Term Note, where they don't even come to Parliament to seek approval, where they have surrounded the sovereignty of Ghana and say that anybody who holds that particular note, you can actually serve Ghana with a court process in London, and that we have waived our immunity to prosecution. A major decision that resides in the sovereignty of Ghanaians to be decided by the Parliament of Ghana and upon a sound advice of the Attorney General. And when they issued that note for $500 million, up to date, they have not even announced it. They've done it in secrecy, and they actually sold those notes at a discount. Meanwhile, Ghanaian bonds are trading at a premium. In other words, people are so happy with our bonds because of the coupon rate we are paying that they're actually paying more in order to get lower yield. In fact, our 2023 bonds are going at a yield of about 4%. What it means is that investors are paying for every $100 of our bond, they are paying $112. And we are selling those bonds at 2% discount, $98. You get a point. And why would anybody do that? So there's a very good reason why we are worried that Ghana is being driven in the wrong path. And the Afrobarometer says quite clearly that Ghana is being driven in the wrong direction. And I recently at a forum in Accra, the day I left for the US, had warned John Dramani Mahama that the fiscal corrections that he needs to do to a fiscal framework and the kind of decisions that he needs to take in 2021 are very serious decisions, because these guys have basically run this country back where we didn't want to go. And that is at their distress. And I am very worried that they don't even think about they themselves working in the medium term to pay. Right. They are pushing the debt into 40 years, right. 15 years. So our children and grandchildren are going to pay for debt being contracted by a 76-year-old man.
Okay. The next question here says, and it's coming from Emmanuel Mawenam, Israel. He's asking what would be the NDC's alternative for the trouble the 100 and the 200 cedis note is causing between driver mates and passengers.
Well, it is only it is only in Ghana that you introduce digitization. You try to introduce a cashless society, right? And you rather introduce a counterproductive policy that encourages people to carry more money. It's never done anywhere across the globe. Even the European Union that introduced 500 euros, they've scrapped it. In America, your highest note of about $1,000 or Yeah, but there is $1,000. You hardly will see it. It was meant for bulky transactions, but they don't even want to encourage bulky transactions to carry more money. Today, with what I'm wearing here in Ghana, I can carry 100,000 on me. Okay? Or more than 100,000. I put 20,000 here. One bundle of 200 Ghana is 20,000. 20,000 here, 20,000 here, right? 20,000 here, 20,000. How much? 20,000 here, 20,000 here. I am roaming around with 120,000 in a cashless society. So quite clearly, our monetary policy stance is quite clear. That we want to improve financial inclusion, which is what they have destroyed, and by deepening financial intermediation. And in deepening financial intermediation is to make sure that the various levels of the financial system that is supposed to respond to the needs of various structures of our society are working. So the needs of the trader in the market is not the same as the needs of a merchant. And that is why our financial sector has to be deepened and integrated. So you have the banking sector, you have the savings and loans, you have the microfinance, you have the fund management companies. Now all of that have been collapsed and we are standing on one weak leg, which is a sick banking sector. Okay. And it is so strange that after having collapsed all the financial institutions and reduced the deepening that we're bringing about, the banking sector is still not attracting the amount of money that are sitting under people's beds. Okay. So we are putting together a major policy reform. And I don't want to take the wind out of the sail of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. Right. But I know that there are major reforms. In fact, he mentioned some of them recently. One, he wants to introduce a two-tier banking system, a financial system that will respond to the various needs. He wants to have a bank with a national character, which basically is to do retail banking. And he wants to have banks with what do you call it? A top layer, bigger bank that does big ticket, which is basically a wholesale bank and an investment bank. But there are other things that we are thinking about. In America today and other places, an emerging concept is what we call the public bank. And the public bank is a concept that allows the government of the day to mobilize cheaper resources from government's own resources. So in Ghana, you notice that the Consolidated Fund keeps a lot of money. You notice that government agencies have a lot of money scattered all over the place. If you can pull that together into about 30-40 billion in one bank called a public bank, your main focus is to leverage those funds for public infrastructure. So a contractor who is giving a contract doesn't go to take a loan for 30%. He will come to a public bank where it's the same government money that will be used to pay your certificate for you to come and take it at 8%. Or for you to take it at 5%, but we'll make sure that you deliver the project, and when your time comes, you are paid and you take your money. These are some of the innovative ideas that we are thinking to deepen the financial sector. And
Thank you.
Yeah.
Richard will take the last set of questions, then we can,
What's your party's take on the collapsed bank, and how does your government, should it come to power, intend to settle those affected customers by these collapsed bank? The question was asked by Alex Stacey Smith.
Yeah, and
that's what he wants to know.
Add a little bit to that. Recently, the government said they were going to pay all the customers, and I heard Seth Tepe ask a question that how are they going to pay?
Yeah, I just want to know the policy behind the payments, for example.
Okay, so one, we in the NDC are very emphatic that when in a country malaria kills a patient, it's a sign of a weak medical system. His Excellency recently, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, said that there was a cancerous toll. No, there wasn't. And I want to explain what really happened. What happened was a medical doctor who was taking care of a patient, after having observed the patient for some time, came to the conclusion that the patient was suffering from malaria. He instructed this patient to go and do a lab test. When the lab test results came before the patient came, he confirmed his fears that this patient was suffering from malaria. Just as he was about to put the prescriptions together, some of which he had already started preparing, the medical doctor was transferred to another facility. A new medical doctor comes to sit in. with all these lab results before him, he declares the patient from suffering from coronavirus. And he indicates that this coronavirus is so contagious that if you don't kill every single patient that is suffering from this coronavirus, he would infect everybody in the country. So what do? You begin to treat and kill malaria patients. And immediately you declare them as malaria patients. Other medical doctors and experts, having seen the lab results, tells you that this is not coronavirus, this is malaria. It was treated in the United States when they got it. It was treated in Asia when they got it. It was treated in Europe when they got it. In fact, it was treated in Nigeria, and some of the survivors are sitting right here with us, called Zenith Bank and Access Bank. So there's no need to kill anybody. Let's treat them for malaria. You decided to kill them because if you don't kill them, in your view, they're suffering from coronavirus. The end result is that anybody that was suffering from malaria had an accelerated death, panic withdrawals. Okay? Anybody who got malaria felt that his next thing that can happen to him is that he will be what? He will be killed and be mistaken for a coronavirus. That was what led to the panic withdrawals. And in the end, you killed a lot of malaria patients. The NDC would not, and I repeat, would not have collapsed a single bank, because the collapse of the first two banks led to the challenges that created the confidence problems in the sector and created the panic withdrawals that then affected others that were not really in trouble. And if we were going to spend 17.5 billion, we would have spent the first amount of money to save UT and Capital Bank, and that would have already stemmed the tide of the panic withdrawals that ensued and led to the collapse of almost 447, close to 500 financial institutions. So that is the first point. So we see the amount of money that is being spent now is a wastage of financial resources that should send some people to jail for undertaking the wrong policy measures. And His Excellency has made it quite clear that when he takes over office, he would pay, and his promise was that I will pay every single customer in my first year of office. He didn't say, I will pay you part and give you a sheet of paper called bond for 5 years. And only this morning, I got a text message from a customer who says that all his interactions with the receiver has been that they owe him 45,000. They confirmed it. Eventually, he was paid about 20,000 this morning. And a text followed that said, you have been paid the full amount of your money. And he asked me, how can I help him? I said, write to the receiver. So if this is the full payments, they are joking with people's lives. And the bonds that they claim to be issuing to people, the NDC will redeem every single sheet of paper they give to them in the first year of John Dramani Mohammed's government. And that money will be found because His Excellency, after having interacted with the customers and having seen the plight, vowed and made a promise to them. And it is that promise that sent them running everywhere. Because originally they said that these people were greedy people who were chasing after high interest rates. And that we cannot pay more than 20,000, and the 20,000 covers 95%. The 5% can go to hell. And I sit on the finance committee. When they came to us, I recall that the chairman of the committee, Makesibe Ebua, said he cannot sit here and approve monies for some and leave some because they are all Ghanaians. They made a very strong argument to us that they couldn't do more than 20,000. And the 20,000 was what left to the 5.6 billion Ghana cedis we approved. That money, they had already spent about 12.6 already. It's not new money. It was spent on UT Capital and the other 7 banks. It was already spent. It's not new money. Then the 3 billion, they said that they had already spent one on the microfinance. So it was left 2 billion. And the 2 billion, they were going to spend 500 million for the fund management companies that are existing, not the customers, but their own cronies whose fund management companies are under trouble. The government was passing through the back door to collect 500 million to go and help them. It wasn't about customers. And the remaining 1.5 was to go and assist the fund management companies. That was the distribution. Immediately, John Dramani Mahama made this announcement, caught everybody. And they started running around, deceiving and playing with people's emotions. So my
question is, I just want some sort of a policy framework. If you say, if I come, I'm going to pay these customers. Number one, the ordinary person's question will be, where are you going to get the money from? And number two, what is the policy framework? Like you just gave an example of somebody saying that I saved 45,000, I was paid 20,000, and the owner said that's the end. I just want you and your party to give us some sort of a policy framework that says, look, everybody that has some sort of evidence that they pay this amount, this is how we're going to pay them. Because I can point to you, you're going to use the taxpayers' money to pay these people who are making private sector investment. And that in itself affects the economy. I've been sitting here listening to you, and it's like the same mistakes are going to be made.
No. Let me explain something to you. You see, what is a policy? When I come, I will pay everybody in the first year of government. It's a policy statement. It's a major policy statement from the very top. The second question you ask is how are we going to pay? And His Excellency quoted numbers that should tell you that he's aware of the burden.
Well, I'm not aware. If you can educate me on that.
He said it will cost 20 billion to pay everybody. And 15.6 of that has been incurred. We are left with 4.6 billion. The lack of confidence in the financial sector and its implications are worth more than 4.6 billion of taxpayers' money. Because the banking sector, you recall, maybe you are too young, but some years ago, when His Excellency Jerry John Rawlings decided to collect a certain denomination of currencies from the people, it took us decades to convince people to go near the bank.
Yeah, people hid their monies and
Do you get me? It took decades for us to convince people that the best place was to put the money in the bank and not under your pillow. And when there's no financial intermediation, you can't create credit, you can't create capital. And it is worse than Ebola. So spending 4.6 billion to bring back the confidence that is lost in the financial sector and to provide a clear roadmap of reviving the sector with a new leadership that can be trusted is a lot more important and a cost saving than to say you want to move away because of 4.6 billion. Don't forget, they've already wasted about 15.6 billion when they shouldn't have done so. All they could have done was to spend a little amount of money and they would have saved the banking sector. So we are quite clear that the cost of the lack of confidence in the banking sector, that would take about 5 years to register 1% positive growth, is inimical to capital formation. And as a result, the private sector that you are talking about can't even access credit. As a matter of fact, in Ghana, for the past 2.5 years, the private sector has not received funding. And it is the reason there is no activity. And we are bent on reversing that. That is a clear policy intent. I don't know what else you want from a policy, but this is a policy intent. And we are quite clear that, you see, another challenge, I told you about our fiscal framework. We intend to reset our fiscal framework. I'll give you some numbers. A few days ago, I did a presentation in Accra where I showed that Ghana currently runs a deficit of 31 billion Ghana cedis in 2019. But they are reporting 16 billion. You know why they're reporting 16 billion? If you do the analysis of the utilization of our Euro bonds, they are indicating in the analysis when you do the subtractions that they spend only 2.2 billion of our Euro bond money to finance the budget. Meanwhile, when they came to account for the utilization of the 2019 budget bonds, in order for us to give them the approval to go and borrow for the 2020 bonds, they told us they spent 9.6 billion on the budget. So how did 9.6 billion become 2.2? So if you net that 2.2 out, what you see immediately is that 7.4 billion of the deficit has been suppressed. In other words, expenditures worth 7.4 billion that have been incurred have been removed from our expenditure and cooked. Now, when they came to us, the valuation that they used for the $3 billion in their own budget analysis was 4 cedis, 55 pesos to $1. I don't know where you can get that exchange rate. And yet, when they were accounting for the utilization of the funds, they used the appropriate exchange rate, which was 5 cedis, 4.2 to the dollar. So I used that 5.2, which is the actual value they realized. And I realized that 3 billion Ghana cedis has already been suppressed from just manipulating the exchange rate alone. If you add that to the 7.4, 10.4 billion Ghana cedis of our deficit is shaved off. They've paid 5 billion to Fidelity Bank to contractors. It's not captured anywhere in our budget framework. You add that, you get 15.4. Add that to the 16 billion they are reporting, and Ghana's deficit is about 31 billion. That is crazy. So there's enough resources in there to deal with just 4.5 billion. But where did they spend that money? Why are they hiding that expenditure? By May 2019, on the floor of Parliament, I had produced a cabinet memo that Ken Ofori-Atta produced to cabinet for the budget review, in which he had indicated that they have spent 25 billion Ghana cedis that was not budgeted in five months. Do you get it? So the level of fiscal impudence is so crazy that if we are able to deal properly with how to manage our fiscal framework, and we are truthful and transparent as we have always been, we should not be registering a deficit of 31 billion and hiding the figures by removing and hiding some of the expenditures. And that is why I have called on the Auditor General to, as a matter of agency, audit the utilization of our Eurobonds to establish our true deficit. Because the Fiscal Responsibility Act is very clear that if you go beyond 5% plus another 1%, you should be censored. And we should not allow Ken Ofori-Atta to serve a full 4 years only for us to realize that he should have been censored in February 2020. And so the Auditor General has to clear that air immediately. And you will find that the numbers are mind-boggling. And we don't think that dealing with that challenge is a major problem. But let me mention another deception. You know, now he talks about DKM. Go and look at his State of the Nation's address in 2018. And he says that he has paid 90% of DKM customers. Ken Ofori-Atta in 2018 also says that they have paid 90% of DKM customers. How come all of a sudden in 2020, DKM customers haven't been paid, and we are now going to pay them? So clearly, this is an election-related expenditure. It is not an expenditure that was anticipated. It is an afterthought, and Ghanaians cannot be bought.
So, Honorable, I have a question before we go for a quick break, and then it's actually a quote. It's in the news this morning. According to the MP for New Job in South, Mark Esibe-Yabua, the currency cannot get stronger and stronger forever. He continued to say, those who came for the year of return, all those people who came into the country came here because our currency is weak. When they bring their dollars and the exchange, they get a lot of money. They are able to spend. So when your currency starts getting stronger, so your currency starts getting stronger, it even affects tourism. So a strong currency in and of itself is not a good thing. The question is simple. The NPP in opposition actually campaigned against the weakness of the city. So for a member of the, is it a financial committee?
Yeah, finance committee.
Finance committee.
He's actually our chairman.
Yeah, to come out to say that a weaker currency is better for the country. At this point, I think he's just looking at tourism. And when you look at our GDP, I don't think tourism actually at this point plays so much a bigger role in our GDP when you look at our budget. So for somebody on the finance committee to say such a thing, what is your take on it?
Okay, first, I need to take us a little back. We are in this conversation because somebody somehow made us to discuss exchange rate depreciation as though it was inflation. Somebody forced us to discuss exchange rate as a goal variable. By a goal variable, just like inflation, where you say, I intend to achieve inflation of 9% at the end of the year, or a medium-term target of 8% plus or minus 2. Somebody who is clueless about monetary policy and about exchange rate development thinks that you can also have an exchange rate of a currency predetermined at the beginning of the year and work towards it and makes it a goal variable. So we are forced into thinking that if an exchange rate depreciation is double digits, something is wrong. And that it is only when you get a single digit exchange rate depreciation that you are actually performing as an economy. And I'm referring to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Because exchange rate is not a goal variable. That is why in the budget, you have never heard any budget being read and they're telling you that we want to achieve an exchange rate depreciation of 4%, 5%, 10%. You don't hear that. Because the factors that impact your exchange rates, a lot of it are external in nature. Your export prices, very fundamental. Global financial market developments that may encourage people who have bought local bonds in cities to take their monies back from your economy, okay, can immediately collapse your currency. So, for instance, a lot of foreigners bring dollars to Ghana, they exchange into cities, and they buy our local bonds. We call them non-resident investors. When they are exiting, they take their interest that we give them, their coupon that we give them, they redeem, they take the cedis, they go on the market and buy dollars, and then they exit the country. So, if for some reason there are some outrageous interest rates in America, and all investors are looking to America as safe havens, it means that they will rush to Ghana and dump their bonds. And if in one particular month they are pulling out $5 billion, our city would immediately disappear. Okay? And at that point, you use exchange rates as a shock absorber in order to manage that volatility and determine how much of your reserves, particularly your net international reserves, you can risk in order to stabilize the currency. Because immediately you also deplete your reserves. You create more fears and panic. You see, what your net international reserve does is that it provides a buffer. It's like a bank that doesn't have liquidity. So when foreigners are investing in your country, there's a rule of thumb that for every single dollar, every $2 of local bonds that are in the hands of foreigners, we must have $1 in net international reserves to cover it. So if you are not mindful of this and you throw a lot of net international reserves like we have done, and they are now seeing like we have today in Ghana, where for every $6 investors are put in Ghana, we have only 50 cents. That is a mark of lack of liquidity. It is like a bank that is running out of cash. You must go and take your money first before they run out of cash. So it is not entirely right for the head of the economic management team and somebody who was vying to become a vice president to push us into a change in what is not exchange rate dynamics, which is making the exchange rate a gold variable, and which has brought us into a point where what Bank of Ghana is basically doing is throwing our net international reserves. What he is saying makes a lot of economic sense depending on how much competitive you are, depending on how much you have been able to address the weaknesses in your business environment and your export-led environment. Because when your CD is weaker, it means that your exports are cheap. Okay. And therefore, it should generate more exports and more foreign currency for you. So a weaker currency is a good omen when you can scale up exports and can take advantage of the cheapness of your export to bring in more foreign currency. In Ghana, the weaknesses are there. We have a country that is immense in major critical institutional and structural rigidities. And therefore, a weaker currency is not able to take advantage of the potential of exports, especially for a country that depends a lot on imports. What it means is that you are importing expensive prices into your country. And what that does to you is to wipe out the capital base of your importers and to create a situation where inflation goes up because of exchange rate depreciation. You remember, most of the time we increase our fuel prices because of exchange rate. Yeah. Okay, when people import and the exchange rate is bad, they decide to add anticipation of exchange rate erosions. And so the price of the goods goes up. So this is not about tourism. It's generally about how you can use exchange rates to position your country to derive value in the global competitive environment. So a country like China may take a decision to lower the value of its currency against the United States in order to push a lot of imports. And recently, you know, the foreign policy implications. So he is speaking from that point. But we are a country with serious structural and institutional rigidities, and our businesses are not able to scale up to meet even the most demand. How come we haven't taken advantage of AGUA? The Africa Free Trade Area. How do you take advantage of it with a shamble manufacturing sector that is still relying on 16th century machinery. And somebody is using artificial intelligence to produce at a lower cost. So until you deal with those fundamental challenges, your exchange rate dynamics must reflect the weaknesses in your economic situation. And so he's not entirely wrong, but I am saying that the blame must be laid squarely where we decided to politicize exchange rate. And the worst thing that ever happened to us was the emergence of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, who delivered a lecture on how to restore the value of the cedi. And today, when we are looking for 40 men who can help us restore the value of the currency, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is at large, like the ambassador at large.
You're still listening to Loud Silence Radio and TV. My name is Kevin Ekobedu Taylor. Our guest today on the show is MP for Bolgatanga Central. Bolgatanga Central. Is that right?
Yeah, Bolgatanga Central.
Yes. Honorable Isaac Adongo. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to be taking some phone calls and then wrap up for the day. But before we leave, Honorable.
Yes.
So where do you want this debate to happen? Quickly, under 5 seconds.
I'm ready any day. In fact, if you wake me up at midnight, I'm ready.
All right. So we'll be right back after this short break to continue the show.
Hi, my name is Alfred Amuzu. I'm the host for the Ghana Agenda on Loud Silence TV and Radio Network. Here are some of the things we talk about on the show. We talk about things like the echo. Is Ghana ready for echo? So you come to my show, we will break it all down. Things like the educational system in Ghana. Should we be doing double track, or should we just keep it like it was when we had sixth form or when ISAAC started? GNPC, what are they doing with our oil money? Are they using it well or not? But I wouldn't bore you with all the details now. Meet me on Sunday between 3 p.m. and 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you're in Ghana, remember, it's 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. GMT. Thanks again. My name is Alfred Amuzu, the host of the Ghana Agenda. See you soon.
Hi, my name is Bakari Kamara. I'll be hosting Parity Political Show on Mondays from 12 to 2 p.m. US time on Loud Silence Radio. Stay put. Thank you. Bonjour. La priorité des priorités, d'aucuns disent que c'est le confort supérieur. Je m'appelle Bakari Kamara. Je serai en ligne tous les lundis à partir de 12h à 2h après-midi, heure de Washington, à Loud Silence Radio pour une émission intitulée Priorité. Évidemment, c'est une émission politique s'adressant à la politique du Sénégal. Je vous remercie.
Hi, my name is Kunle Olomofe. I'm going to be your host on High Impact Politics right here on Loud Silence Radio in DC, Mondays 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, Nigerian time 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. This is High Impact Politics. You want to know exactly what's going on in Nigeria, outside Nigeria, and how it impacts you. Catch you there.
Hi, my name is Kevin Taylor, host of With All Due Respect. As you know, With All Due Respect has been self-produced for the past 3 years. We have not accepted any money or resources outside in order to maintain the integrity of the platform. We are an anti-corruption platform. Our work doesn't excite or encourage compromised stakeholders. That also means we cannot take funds from just anyone. As our platform...
All right, welcome back to the show. My name is Kevin Ekobedu Taylor. This is the extended version of With All Due Respect. My guest today is Honorable Isaac Adongo, MP for Bolgatanga Central. Now we're going to be taking phone calls, very, very short phone calls. Please, when you call, make it short and precise so that we can get other people calling. The number is +1 202 751 8769. +1 202 751 8769. Yeah, yeah. We started getting some calls on the line. Let me try and get this ready. Hello, caller. Hello, caller. If my producer can help us hear the caller. Hello, caller. Yes, I think we're having some technical problems. It's not coming through the speakers, so we can't actually hear the caller. All right, we're going to take a short break, but we're still going to be online. We take care of the technical problems, and this is the 21st century, right? And sometimes these things happen. So we've been talking about a lot of things today. The honorable member, you wanted to say something little on the banking. Yeah, you have your mic. You can. Yeah.
Are we on now?
Okay, let's see. There's a call coming in. Can we pick it, user? Yeah, I'm picking a call. Hello.
Yeah, so what we have seen with the banking sector crisis is consistent with the broader policy of the MPP.
Okay.
They came into government with the objective to appropriate every opportunity that existed within the Ghanaian business environment. So when they said banking sector cleanup, we thought it was a very honest process, because I can't see how just introducing minimum capital requirement will become a death trap for banks and financial institutions. I can't see that happen. So they ended up now going after people that they have struggled to compete against. There are banks that in his private life as Ken Oforiatta, he wanted to buy that he never managed to buy them. Capital Bank is one of them. He came and took it away. I'm aware of Beige Bank, where he and Babatunde Ampa had approached the owner of the bank to buy Beige Bank. The man refused. The next moment, Babatunde Ampa was the one who led the Bank of Ghana team. And this is the vice president of Data Bank in charge of corporate finance. He's not a staff of Bank of Ghana. Lead Bank of Ghana team to go and possess Beige Bank. And we all know that the Banks and Special Deposit Institutions Act, 2016 Act 930, is very clear that if you want to revoke the license of a bank, you give 1 month notice for them to make submissions to save the bank. In this particular case, Beige Bank, they appeared the same day as they are handing over the letter, they are taking the bank. In the case of Unibank, they never served them any letter. They heard it on air. And the rules are quite clear on how you take a bank under administration. And recently, some of you might have read even the Attorney General, being livid about the process and saying that there was a lot of illegality. If you take the case of Heritage Bank, the fact that the owner of the bank is in court over a business transaction was enough grounds for him to be declared not fit and proper to own a bank. And the bank taken away from him, when we all know in jurisprudence that you are never guilty until proven guilty. And so if any person just took you to court, you are as guilty as charged, and you lose a bank. But what is even worse is that a few weeks before they took Heritage Bank, the Bank of Ghana had called the owner of Heritage Bank to advise him to merge his bank with UMB. He contracted KPMG to do a due diligence on it, and the due diligence returned that there were some related party transactions on the books of UMB which were problematic. As a result of which this man said, I cannot combine my bank with a bank with these challenges. The next moment they took the bank from him. Even after they took the bank, they sent foreign investors who came interested in Heritage Bank to go and talk to him to buy the bank from the man you have already taken the bank from. Again, trying to set traps. So if the man engages in selling, then they'll come and accuse him of selling a bank that doesn't belong to him. And the man was sharp to tell them that I don't own a bank, and therefore I have no basis to be transacting with you. Before they took any of those banks or financial institutions, Data Bank went taking all their monies from those institutions before they were taken. That is serious insider trading and conflict of interest. And that is owned by the finance minister himself. So the issue about banking sector cleanup was one of greed. It was one of vindictiveness. It was one of going after their competitors. It was one of going after their political opponents. And nothing to do with banking sector cleanup. And we cannot walk that path. I recall in 2009, Data Bank could not even honor redemptions of 2,000 Ghana cedis. We never closed it down. We allowed it to regenerate and we supported it, and Data Bank today is what it is. How come the same person who was a beneficiary of this largesse is going after People's Bank? And we took a deliberate policy to bring into the banking sector local entrepreneurship. And after 25 years of encouraging people to risk their money in the banking sector, we are back to a foreign-dominated banking sector which is struggling to fund anybody. And we will not countenance this kind of wickedness. And we are quite clear that the wheels of justice would eventually be told. And the owners of those banks. Yeah.
The argument could be made that before the banking sector cleanup, the capital adequacy ratio was in shambles. It was bad. It was getting to a point, it was below what Basel III wanted. After the cleanup, as of today, we know we are running about 18% in capital adequacy ratio. We know the asset quality has improved. So could you, to follow your logic, you're saying that the banking sector cleanup was, a mistake?
Okay, I want you to go back and pick the Bank of Ghana's own summary financial and economic data.
Okay.
That was issued in July 2019. And check the capital adequacy that was being reported for the first 6 months. Okay? It started declining from 21% and got to somewhere around 17%. Then in November, the Bank of Ghana issues summary economic and financial data and goes back to January and cooks all the data. And consistently, 3% is added to every single month.
Okay, so you're saying that is cooked data?
And I wrote to him. I have told him that he's cooked the data. He came to finance committee meeting. And I said, Mr. Governor, I have 2 sets of data from you. Can you tell me the lifespan of your data? Because in July, this was the data you issued for the capital adequacy. Okay? And now, in November, this is what you have issued, changing every single data. How many months must we rely on your data? He couldn't answer. I produced the document and gave it to him. He looked at it. He couldn't answer and left the meeting. So it's now actually 17.4. But I can tell you that 17.4, take away 3%, and we are 14.4. Only 1.4 buffer above the mandatory requirement of 13%. Is that what recapitalization does? 2, the quality of the banking sector asset, particularly non-performing loans, is not as a result of recapitalization. It's a result of implementation of RFRS 9, which requires upfront write-off of risk associated with loans. And so these are debts that technically would have been sitting on the books that are being compelled to be written off. And it is the reason that your capital adequacy is deteriorating, because you are moving it from your non-performing loans and offsetting them against your capital.
Oh no, let's try and take some calls.
I don't know whether you are getting my point. So that is what is happening.
Yeah,
the capital adequacy is not because we are getting more loan portfolios or people are paying their debt. We are basically writing off the asset against our capital. Right. So you are improving one side.
If you are available, these might be discussions we have on Sunday.
Yeah, let's try and see if we can pick this call. Hello, caller. The speaker on. Hello, caller. Hello, caller. Hello. Hello. Yeah, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, you can go ahead with your submission.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
Yeah.
It's not us.
We should try another one.
Let's more calls coming in. Let me just pick another call. Hello, caller. Hello, caller. Where are you calling from? Your name?
My name is Hilda.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay. I want to know if when NBC wins, they're going to pay the money for best.
Yeah, let me try. Yeah, it's hello, caller. Where are you calling from? Your name?
This is coming from Sydney.
Yeah, I think we let's just go ahead. Yeah, we're having problems with the lines.
Yeah, in the meantime, I can ask
So you can continue with some of the questions.
Let me jump in one real quick before you come in. You were in the United States, so I wanted to ask you a United States question.
Yeah.
Coronavirus has caused the stock market to lose. The S&P lost 1,191 points today, shaving off 4.2% of the entire
stock value.
S&P lose 4.4 as well. So this coronavirus we have on our hand is a pandemic. It has economic implication. It has all kinds of other unintended consequences. What is the Ghanaian government doing? Because a lot of the Chinese are in our country. They are coming every day. I know when you go to Terminal 3 now, you get this scan on your face to see if your temperature is up to a certain point. But what is being done? Can you tie into that? Is it Silodrone or what is it? Sinohydro.
Yeah.
The fact that we are expecting this year to be the year of roads, to be delivered by Sinohydro. And this is where, the headquarters of where the pandemic is actually happening now. So can you address those two things for me?
Yeah, so it's all about I think Sinohydro really is not a major factor. And before I get there, I just want to disabuse the minds of the people that this is a year of roads. It's not. The Euro bonds that we issued, out of $3 billion, we budgeted to spend only 1.2 billion Ghana cedis, the equivalent of $200 million. You put your money where your mouth is, right? So if you are dealing with a year of roads and you have access to $3 billion and you're spending just $200 million on roads, then you tell us a year of roads. I mean, we are not kids. It's all about them having failed woefully and realizing that in election, there's going to be this mantra of no roads, no vote, and all of that, and they're just trying to manage people. But it's not a year of roads. In terms of the budgetary allocations that we're seeing, we don't know how they're going to fund it. And their own utilization of the Eurobond money as put in their prospectus and told Parliament is that only $200 million of $3 billion will be spent on roads. So it's not a year of roads. It's just to ensure that if they go into extra budgetary spending, they go cutting short here and there, and you say, hey, this is not budget, so this is a year of roads. We already said it, It's all part of managing the expectations after having slept for 3 years. Suddenly you wake up, you want to do everything in 1 year, and you don't even have the budget for it. So that is out. Yes, coronavirus is a major issue. In fact, Ghana currently, the city, is surviving on coronavirus. It's not a laughing matter. Importers are no longer importing from China. So the demand for the dollar to go and import from China has gone down. Okay? So that is the main reason why the city is surviving on coronavirus. When your currency needs an international tragedy of coronavirus proportion to survive, you know the kind of economy you are running. So how are we going to deal with this? I think the proactiveness. You saw the leadership of John Dramani Mahama when the Ebola virus broke in the sub-region. It wasn't in Ghana. It was in our neighboring countries. But because of our strategic geographical location, we were not dealing with just preventing Ebola virus come to Ghana, but we're interested in making sure that it is not even around us, such that it doesn't find its way here. We recall that when we set up a base in Ghana to assist the UN, the opposition, who are now in government, at that time said that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama was risking the lives of Ghanaians by getting involved in Ebola fight. And there was a clear strategy. Everybody knew the leadership. John Dramani Mahama was not just talking about it. He was releasing briefs to the people of Ghana. He was making Ghanaians know the level of preparedness. He was getting involved with the fight at international level within the sub-region and was actually providing leadership beyond Ghana. This our man, he hasn't even heard Adongo be no abe. A few days ago, after he read the state of the next day, we got as usual a communique. He's going on a tour. He's not back. In fact, I'll get back to Ghana in March. He's not back. So we are very worried because we have a very, very intimate relationship with China. And the Chinese community in Ghana is very big. In fact, as a matter of fact, now they can enter Ghana even without visas. That's what I hear. Yeah. So we need to up the game. And I think that the people of Ghana are waiting to see leadership. We are waiting to see proactiveness. We are waiting to see an interdisciplinary coordinated program to deal with this matter. But as it is now, it looks as if we are living in an island. We don't think that it is too far away from us. That appears to be the posture of government. And it is important that you have asked this question. It is a question that I myself, if I get the opportunity, I'll pose to the president. So obviously I don't have an answer because I have not seen a clear-cut policy response from government.
Honorable, let's take a final one and then we can end the show.
Right. So I'm an Nkrumah, so
okay.
Some submissions that you've given thus far pretty interesting. Some of them I'm not really impressed, and that's okay. We agree to disagree. It's a democratic thing. So I just want us to consider some perspectives here. Nkrumah's government ruled Ghana for 9 years. Between 57 and 66 was 9 years. The NDC and the NPP government combined between 1992 and now is well over 30 years. Now, if you put the perspectives of these two political parties now together and match it with that of Nkrumah, the things that Nkrumah's government did within that 9 years is still not matched. Nkrumah did so many things. I mean, I've been to several places in Ghana that things that Nkrumah built are in the bush. So, I mean, you are in governance, whether opposition or if your government is in power. Do you not think that we should start looking at some of the things or some of the models that Nkrumah put in place? Obviously, some of those documentations still exist. Don't you think that, with all these politicians literally taking stage and instead of promises upon promises and literally, the NPP government promising heaven and earth and yet to deliver in sand, don't you think that we should start looking at going back to basics? I mean, our local language, there's Sankofa. So don't you think it will be paramount for this current administration or any other administration that comes to start looking at some of the economic modules that Nkrumah put in place and how best it can benefit the ordinary Ghanaian? Because at the end of the day, the main thing, whether NPP, NDC, or even CPP, is that we want Ghana to succeed. And for me as a Ghanaian, when I hear some of the things that politicians say, it's baffling because I know it's all empty words. They're not going to do anything. So what is your take on, I mean, obviously you're older than me. So what is your take in having to look at some of the policies of Nkrumah's government that work and hopefully, adopting those things into these current systems that we find ourselves in?
Well, that is a very important conversation that we need to have as a country. And Nkrumah stands very tall. It's unfortunate that when our colleagues are in government, they want to sweep Nkrumah under the carpet. But we celebrate Nkrumah. And it is the reason you find that a lot of Nkrumahs have migrated to the NDC. And in 2015, when we began to have serious challenges, we went into Nkrumah's model. We put together a team under the Ghana National Development Commission to put together a 40-year development plan. Because the success of Nkrumah was hinged on long-term planning. Mm-hmm. And that has been lost on us because our constitution has imposed medium-term planning framework on us. Right. So any government that comes to power, within your first 2 years, you are supposed to develop a coordinated program. And that coordinated program is for a period of 4 or 5 years. And so that piecemeal doesn't allow us to think long-term and act short-term. And we in the NDC was of the view that we need to envision Ghana 40 years from hence, so that our policy actions, including the most difficult decisions that we take, are not hinged on immediate benefit, but the long-term growth and development of our country. We put all of that together. The MPP came and said, it's absurd to think even 15 years, let alone to think 40 years. And they jettisoned it. Now we have a government that borrows 41 years to fund a 4-year budget, a 4-year medium-term program. So if you cannot have a vision for 40 years, you can have a debt for 40 years. So we in the NDC are quite clear. And you will notice that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama revived a number of factories that were set up by Dr. Nkrumah. The shoe factory in Kumasi is an example. The jute factory, we worked on a number of factories. So instead of deciding that you want to set up one district, one factory, we were interested in reviving what we already had that had been abandoned and which was set up by Nkrumah and had to be retooled. Commander Sugar Factory and all of that. We thought that there was a need to retool the legacies that we had in order that we can bring back the vibrancy that existed in those communities. Unfortunately, when we lost power, they decided to go on one district, one factory that didn't even have a coordinated action plan. So we asked the question, why would somebody come to Bunkurugu to set up a factory because the president says one district, one factory? There must be an enabling attraction. There must be some business case. And we need to consciously work at developing that business case and providing the environment within that place to make it reasonable for somebody to go and put $20 million there. But you just can't say because you pronounce one district, one factory, a businessman will go and raise $20 million and go and waste it in a particular village. Okay, so we in the NDC are quite clear. And I do believe that we would continue with the program of revitalization of the factories that were set up by Nkrumah that we couldn't manage to handle. But for those that we have handled, we'll make sure that we'll bring them back and we'll get them to work. If this government is able to successfully set up any factories, we'll incorporate them into the agenda and support them to continue the progress. And we know that Nkrumah used import substitution as a major tool for managing our currency and for making us self-reliant. That cannot be lost on us. So you cannot give up on politicians, and that is where I have a problem. When the NDC makes a mistake, we say the NDC. But when the MPP makes a mistake, we say politicians. That has to stop. That is why we all have names. So when I misconduct myself and you blame me for it, another one misconduct himself, you don't say human beings. No. So I seriously agree with your question, and it is a major conversation that even within our policy working groups, when we look at the real sector, how we are going to move the real sector, industrialization, import substitution, and supporting the private sector. And I know that as an Nkrumahist, you are not too enthused about the private sector more. You are thinking more about what Nkrumah will say the state might take the commanding heights of creating employment, creating factories, and managing them. We have come to a point where it appears that what belongs to the states is not properly managed. And that mindset has aimed so much into our fabric that we must find a solution to that.
So, I hope you satisfied.
Right, I mean...
So, I'm happy we ended with Nkrumah because Nkrumah never dies, right?
He never,
So, that's it. It's been a wonderful engagement, and on social media, on YouTube, everywhere, all platforms, it's been very engaging. They're fighting among... It's not fighting, actually. There's a lot of argument happening. Some questions came in which we cannot read. We are far behind time. But, gentlemen, thank you very much for coming. We would like to also thank our guest, Honorable Isaac Adongo. He's the MP for Bolgatanga Central. He's been wonderful. He's been, and I'm not going to forget this. The debate is still on.
Yeah, that debate.
Loud Silence Radio and TV. We are also putting together whatever we can put together to see if we can organize a debate here in the United States.
That would be wonderful.
And this is an open invitation to the Vice President. We can take care of this. And as the Vice President, I know he can actually take care of this financially. And then he wants to prove himself that, in fact, Adongo is not his level when it comes to economics. And with all due respect to the Vice President, he's a very good economist to some Ghanaians. And this is the time we all have to know who is who. That is the WBC fight or the
but
super.
Just to conclude on this note, that this is not about who is better at economics.
No.
This is to bring some credibility to our political discourse.
Right.
To make sure that the people, when they speak, they know they will be held to account and they will speak the truth. And so all those people who are parading us wanting to debate me, they are not the people who went to Kumasi Town Hall to churn out the lies. They are not the people who, at every least opportunity, deceive the people of Ghana. And they are not the people who, in the lead up to the 2016 election, said they had the magic wand. And they are not the people who, in April 2019, mounted a town hall that was supposed to be a program for the economic management team and churn out very spurious economic theories. That man is the one I want to meet. And let him understand
of the Republic of
that
Ghana.
you cannot lie about economics because it's about people's lives.
Mr. Vice President, with all due respect, Honorable Adongo has made his point, and that I know.
And they can wake me up any day. They don't need to give me prior notice.
Okay, so it's an open field. So that's it. Thank you very much for watching. People on Facebook, I Call You Family, on YouTube, across the world, from Asia, Europe, America, Africa, 5,000 miles from here. That's our home, Ghana. And we're very much grateful for joining us today. On Tuesday, I'll be coming your way again with another extended version of With All Due Respect. I say thank you to everybody who made this possible. I call them, the production team, we call them the ghost team. You never see them, but they make it very, very possible to happen. And we also want to say thank you very much to the Honorable.
It's my biggest pleasure to be on this big platform.
Thank you very much,
and I hope you grow from strength to strength.
Yeah, and then how much will come. So you can also, if you want to support With All Due Respect this platform, you know, it's a not-profit. It's we don't want to take money from any organization, any politician, or any business. You can go to www.patreon.com/withallduerespect, patreon.com/withallduerespect, and go join. You can subscribe monthly, $10 and over, whatever you want to do. You can also do that on Facebook. If you want to support this is election year. We want to call the election even before the EC calls the election. It's surprising that we didn't even talk about the EC today, but we will make sure that we follow the election in all regions, all districts, all constituencies, and bring everything live to you here from the United States of America. So if you want to make this cause a possible one, just try and support the cause. Patreon, patreon.com/withallduerespect. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been wonderful. Thank you, everybody. And we would like to say, have a wonderful day and have a wonderful night wherever you are. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.